Before he died, Frank Sinatra reportedly singled out 5 actresses he believed had the worst personal hygiene. Many secrets followed Sinatra to the grave, but this was not one of them. Known as a perfectionist with extreme sensory sensitivity, the chairman of the board allegedly kept a private blacklist of glamorous Hollywood women who failed his rigid cleanliness standards. According to those closest to him, Sinatra changed clothes several times a day and showered before and after intimacy. His vast cologne collection and obsession with scent weren't indulgences, they governed his life and sabotaged relationships. Late at night, surrounded by trusted insiders and flowing scotch, Sinatra would deliver merciless critiques of lovers, especially when it came to what he considered the ultimate offense: bad smell. On stage, he was charming, but behind closed doors, he allegedly raged at women he found offensive, scrubbing himself raw afterward. These stories come directly from those who heard his uncensored confessions, revealing not gossip, but a deep need for control that shaped and damaged his personal life. As one longtime bandmate explained, Sinatra could dominate everything except his emotions, and that enraged him. When feelings ran deep, he reportedly fixated on flaws, growing harsher the stronger the attachment. No one triggered that reaction more than these 5 women. Number 5. Shelley Winters. Shelley Winters stormed into Sinatra's life as chaos incarnate, loud, wild, and utterly uninterested in his rigid order. Where Frank demanded perfection, Winters embraced mess, excess, and provocation. Those around them claimed her lifestyle horrified Sinatra, from wearing the same clothes for days to eating pungent foods without apology. Though their affair burned briefly, Sinatra privately complained that her habits disgusted him. He allegedly returned from her apartment showering obsessively, muttering about contamination. Winters later admitted she intentionally pushed his buttons, believing his obsession with perfection needed disrupting. Their fling was doomed, ending as quickly as it began. Number 4. Zsa Zsa Gabor. If Shelley Winters represented natural chaos, Zsa Zsa embodied Sinatra's opposite nightmare: chemical overload. According to Sinatra, her heavy perfume use overwhelmed his senses beyond tolerance. He reportedly joked that dating her felt like living inside a duty-free shop. Insiders claimed Sinatra returned from dates with bloodshot eyes and perfume-soaked clothes he couldn't cleanse. One tuxedo was allegedly destroyed because the scent lingered too long. The breaking point came when Gabor sprayed perfume on his pillow, prompting Sinatra to sleep elsewhere and end the relationship the next morning. Number 3. Judy Garland. Judy Garland. Sinatra admired her talent, but struggled with what he described as her anxious energy. He allegedly believed her inner turmoil manifested physically, carried in sweat and scent. Their bond ran deep, rooted in shared demons and insecurities. While their performances together were electric, Sinatra reportedly found private moments unbearable. Those close to him suggested his complaints about Garland reflected fear, seeing his own addictions mirrored back at him. As one longtime bandmate explained, Sinatra could dominate everything except his emotions, and that enraged him. When feelings ran deep, he reportedly fixated on flaws, growing harsher the stronger the attachment. No one triggered that reaction more than these 5 women. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe stunned his inner circle most of all. Though Sinatra adored her and spoke honestly about that affection, he once admitted she smelled like beauty and breakdown. To him, exhaustion, panic sweat, smeared makeup, and dependency on pills blended into a scent he couldn't ignore. The great fantasy failed him. The woman every man desired did not match the illusion he'd constructed. Frank expected Monroe to smell like the dream she sold, innocence, sex, and sweetness combined. But discovering her humanity shattered that image. Their brief affair, marked by her worsening substance use, only deepened his fixation. Icons, he later remarked, still sweat beneath silk. As hours passed, perfection dissolved. Makeup melted, perspiration surfaced, and chemicals seeped through skin. It wasn't her body he rejected, but the collapse of his fantasy.
If Monroe revealed Sinatra's disappointment, Ava Gardner exposed his obsession. She was the love of his life, the one he claimed smelled like war, gin, smoke, fury. Their relationship burned hot and violent, equal parts desire and destruction. Frank said being near Ava stole his breath even as he couldn't quit her. No woman overwhelmed his senses more completely, nor haunted him longer. According to those closest to him, he never stopped loving her and never stopped fixating on her scent. That fixation, his road manager explained, was really about helplessness. Unable to control his feelings, Sinatra tried to control the narrative. Over time, simple complaints evolved into poetic indictments. At his most honest, he called her scent the perfume of self-destruction, both unbearable and irresistible. Kissing Ava, he once said, felt like licking an ashtray while getting punched in the heart, yet his eyes betrayed longing. Unlike other women, Ava was never fully rejected. Her scent, tied to desire and pain, became part of why he couldn't let go. She remained at the top of his blacklist not because she smelled worse, but because she mattered most. Control defined Frank Sinatra's life. He mastered his voice, dominated rooms, curated his image, and ruled performances with ruthless precision. Musicians feared him, technicians dreaded mistakes, but his heart remained uncontrollable. His psychiatrist insisted Sinatra's sensory complaints were never about cleanliness, they were shields. When a woman pierced his armor, he retreated into judgment. Saying she smells bad was safer than admitting vulnerability. The pattern was clear. The more emotional power a woman held, the more likely she was to offend his senses. Sinatra weaponized perception. His ear caught a flat note in a full orchestra. His palate named vineyards blind. His nose identified cologne across a room. These weren't quirks, they were defenses. By reducing emotional chaos to sensory criticism, Frank created the illusion of control where he felt none. He wasn't dismissing these women outright. Their worlds simply clashed with his cultivated tastes. The idea served as a convenient shield, sparing him from confronting his own emotional dependence. According to his road manager, the women who landed on his infamous list were the ones who stirred something real in him. The deeper the feeling, the louder the criticism became. Ava led the list because she occupied his heart more fully than anyone else, with scent merely a handy excuse. The true odor in this story isn't about actresses at all. It comes from the mix of fame, power, and consequence-free behavior. What actually stinks is a Hollywood system that enabled male icons and protected their distortions. Sinatra could keep such private judgments because the industry insulated men like him, whose value outweighed accountability. As one studio executive recalled, no one ever told Frank no, not his mother, not the studios, and certainly not his entourage. He lived in a vacuum where ego-driven perceptions passed as truth. Those around him reinforced this dynamic, affirming his views whether or not they aligned with reality. Members of his inner circle later admitted they laughed along, even when they knew the claims were nonsense. Their role wasn't to challenge him, but to preserve his self-image. This created a closed loop where insecurity hardened into fact and eventually into legend. After his death, those distortions became part of Hollywood lore. Meanwhile, the women judged by these standards lived under relentless pressure, expected to appear flawless while enduring exhausting schedules and impossible beauty demands. As a costume designer noted, the wonder wasn't that they sometimes perspired, but that they appeared so perfect at all. The imbalance of power allowed Sinatra to scrutinize women without ever being scrutinized himself. His own realities, cigarette breath, alcohol, and a pharmacy of stimulants and sedatives, were never subject to public accounting. His physician later observed that Frank was exempt from the very standards he imposed. That exemption, not any alleged list, is the real scandal. The outrage lies not in private hygiene rumors, but in a system that gave one man's perceptions the power to define women who had no equal voice. In the end, irony delivers the final verdict. Sinatra's effort to reduce these women to physical traits failed completely. History remembers them for their work, not his opinions. Shelley Winters earned 2 Oscars and a career of fearless roles. Judy Garland's performances still resonate across generations. Marilyn Monroe became a global icon whose image endures worldwide. Ava Gardner proved herself through talent and independence, not beauty alone. Even Zsa Zsa Gabor transformed celebrity itself into an art form ahead of its time. What remains of Sinatra's judgments says little about them and everything about him. As one historian put it, he believed he was cataloging flaws, but instead recorded his own inability to see women as fully human. Despite his towering talent, Frank Sinatra remained emotionally stuck in an adolescent view of women, idolizing them as distant fantasies and recoiling once they revealed ordinary human realities. According to his psychiatrist, he loved the illusion, not the person.
When a woman ceased to be a projection and became physically real, Sinatra perceived it as a personal affront, exposing not a flaw in them, but a lack of emotional maturity in him. The actresses, later named Shelley Winters, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, and Ava Gardner, were long gone and unable to respond, though their legacies hardly require defense. Their enduring work outlives any petty criticism, rendering Sinatra's judgments irrelevant in the long view of history. By that standard, these women rise far above the rumors attached to them, while the man who sang of romance and wonder struggled with the basic realities of intimacy. The so-called list says little about the women and far more about Sinatra himself, a hypersensitive control seeker whose artistic brilliance contrasted sharply with his limitations as a partner. Behind the confident public image was a man unsettled by human imperfection, retreating into surface-level criticism rather than confronting vulnerability. The actresses he scrutinized remain icons of Hollywood's golden age, untouched by gossip about bodily realities. Ultimately, Sinatra's fixation on scent exposed his own emotional boundaries, marking the point where fantasy collapsed under real connection. The true revelation isn't that these women were human, it's that one of America's greatest vocal interpreters never fully learned to love women beyond the dream. And while Sinatra kept lists, they left something lasting, art that still resonates long after both the bodies and the complaints faded into legend.